Crimson Desert is finally here after many long years of waiting. It's an absolutely massive game that doesn't pull any punches. I've played for over 100 hours so far, but there are many things I wish I knew earlier, so why not learn from my horrible mistakes? This video is here to make sure your early game is as smooth as possible without spoiling the story, including taming pets to help you pick up items, easy fast traveling, nearby hidden items and recipes that help you immensely, illegal activities, dual wielding, easy fast travel secrets, leveling up your horse, furnishing your house, and much more. Let's get right into it. After the main tutorial, when you're first dumped into the open world, you'll end up next to a bunch of fishermen and a guide. Instead of following him, look across the water and make your way down Aragon's cave here, but don't bring your horse. Walk inside for the biggest gift of all, a recipe for Palmer pills and a few already made pills on the desk. You'll need to find a cauldron to craft them, which is in every major city. Palmer pills, when you die, let you resurrect at 30% health, at least to start with. These are absolutely invaluable for some boss fights beyond chapter 5, when you're going to have to be either very well geared or simply outlast some relentless, unblockable, undodgeable, and unparryable homing attacks. Only after I reached this point in the game was I told by one of the developers about this nifty little area that I wish I knew beforehand. Being able to craft these is a godsend, and if you take nothing else away from this video, take this one away. Cooking is another one, but let's talk about that later. First, I want to talk about pets. I can't hold it in any longer. You want to do this as soon as you can. Take as much cooked meat as possible, then explore the world until you find a pet you like the look of. Dog or cat works the same. You want to pet the animal as much as you can until you stop gaining trust from the action. Then you want to drop the meat on the ground one at a time on the floor. The animal will eat it. Make sure NPCs aren't too close or other animals, because sometimes the filthy bastards will rush over to collect what you put on the floor. Eventually the animal will reach its food limit as well. You need to find a random bed close by and sleep. Then pass some more time, leaving the game open, and come back 24 in-game hours later and continue to pat and feed the animal until it's at least 100 trust. Once you reach this level, it becomes your pet. When you take it out, it will follow you around, picking up items left on the floor for you, and it can't be damaged or injured. Very useful during fights and very useful when harvesting timber or mining for ore, as doing so naturally deposits them on the floor and you need to collect them individually and they just pick them up automatically. Oh, that's a good boy, so cute and useful. Now, although you can mount wild cows or interact with other animals, you can't make pets of everything. Yes, you can gain full trust of NPCs, but it won't really do much for most of them. Alright, back to some semblance of order. After you get the Palmer pills recipe, head back to where you were. Walk up the hill and to your right will be a Becker axe that can be easily missed. It's quite a bit better than the sword of the wolf that you have on your person, at least until you fully upgrade it. Plus it does the God of War axe embed animation as it slashes through targets. Later in the video I'll talk about dual wielding, which does a lot of damage. And if you want to do some serious damage to YouTube, be sure to subscribe. It helps me out a lot, and you can always unsubscribe when I inevitably start annoying you. Okay, a short horse ride later and you'll be pathed right next to this, a Sealed Abyss artifact. You can recognize them from the icon on your map. Sealed Abyss artifacts need you to complete a task in order to unlock them. Usually inside you get something you can slot into your gear or an Abyss artifact you can use to invest into your skill tree. So naturally, keeping an eye out for these will help you increase your strength. Note that when you do complete the challenge, you will sometimes need to go into your inventory and open the artifact yourself, as you can see here. Very early in the game, you'll see a bounty poster hanging up anywhere around town. One of them is for Jeffrey. If you haven't found it yet, it's just a random spawn. You need to select this mission, find him, capture him, and bring him to the prison for your reward, which is an early mask. You can't steal without a mask, as the options are locked. You need to first equip it, then go into your weapon wheel and shift to your mask on. I personally always leave it on, as having it on allows you to steal. Now, the game mentions you'll look sus wearing it, but that only really comes up when you're trying to infiltrate areas using a disguise or costume, and in which case you can take it off, so don't really worry about leaving it on otherwise. Why is stealing good? Well, a lot of missions have you in houses with goodies ripe for the picking. Some items will need to be stolen even though they shouldn't be. Yes, you lose reputation, but it's a very small amount. You can steal by sneaking, looking at an item and holding a button to steal when prompted, or you can sprint into an NPC's pocket to automatically swipe it from them. It doesn't always work, but when it does, be prepared to exit the red search range. Enjoy, you thieving bastards. Speaking of illegal activities, there is a livestock fence which you can sell stolen livestock to, and a back alley merchant hidden away very close to your starting area. Here's the location on the map. Grimrack has, most importantly, keys. You'll need keys to access most regular locked doors in the game, so get a lot of them. Just walk up to a door and the key will automatically be used, and you'll probably do this as a mistake a lot of the time. In most camps and towns, there are anvils and grindstones. Without walking up to them and seeing the prompt, you'd be excused for not noticing that they can be used to give temporary buffs to your armor and weapons respectively. So when you see one, use it. The bonus is noticeable. Now, I mentioned before, cooking is as valuable as making Palmer pills. Why? Well, throughout most of the game, the primary way you heal is by consuming food. Don't worry, you don't need to go into a menu to do so, though you can. There is a quick button press to consume without breaking the action, just right on the D-pad for controllers. Because it's so quick and simple, you'll be absolutely spamming heal during hard fights to avoid dying and restarting whole missions. Especially true on bosses, many of which you can brute force through if you don't possess the knowledge of their weakness or have the skill that they are weak to yet. Even the best player will take damage in this game. This isn't Dark Souls, you can't get by on skill alone. So what do? Find food items in the world and hunt for meat. You can fish, but that's relatively slow. I recommend killing animals in the overworld. You can then skin them for a lot of meat as well as valuable crafting materials I'll get to soon. Go to the nearest cooking pot or bonfire and cook the meat up. You can Zelda style improvise if you don't know recipes. A good dish is usually one piece of fruit and one piece of meat. This will get you through almost all the early and mid game. If you're struggling hunting, you'll find poison arrows on bandits around the world. They will one-shot any deer you run into, sometimes killing whole packs. Don't worry, for some reason the poison does not spoil the meat. You can also brute force it and sometimes catch whole packs of venison fresh for the harvest using only your melee weapons. Even the women and children aren't safe, you monster. Once your horse is leveled up, which I'll talk about soon, you can jump into a pack and start kicking them to death as well. Quick and easy, as you'll be using your mount to find packs of meat anyway. Now, I mentioned fishing. It isn't easy to get the hang of, but you'll need to do it for some missions. First, get a fishing rod from almost anywhere that has people fishing in the water. Swap out your ranged weapon for it, then cast it like you would shoot a bow. When a fish takes the bait, you press the trigger or click and you'll get to fight the fish until it tires out. So you hold left if it's going right, right if it's going left. When it stops splashing about, you have to reel it in slowly. If it hits any obstacle, the line will snap. If you don't make it tired, the line will snap as well. If you breathe wrong, the line will snap. So keep at it. Fish can make very powerful healing items. Oh, and you can catch fish by hand if you're very quick or lucky enough. For many of you, that will be the easier way. You may have realized early that reflecting light from your weapon does a few things. First, whip it out every now and then to scan the map. This is a huge piece of advice. I wasn't doing this for the first 10 hours of the game and I missed a lot of fast travel points. The only way you can really find them is by using this skill. Any reflected light is usually either an abyss artifact or said fast travel point, the latter of which, like I said, is invaluable. I went dozens of hours in the game before I found a single one in the overworld because, of course, I forgot I could do this, so don't make the same mistake. Also, reflecting light will light things on fire, which can, in some puzzles or hidden areas, clear away vines for you. In combat, it will blind targets briefly, and there is a skill to level that up into a finishing attack. Now, I have hinted at it, but fast traveling is not something easily done. There are very few points on the map and they take time to find. However, that doesn't apply to the Abyss. Early on, you unlock fast travel points up there, so on controller you press in the right trigger, or on PC, press middle mouse button to switch the map to the Abyss. Find a fast travel point and press triangle, Y, or double click on it. Up in the abyss, you can jump off and glide towards your target. Very useful for getting back to your base, which you'll acquire early on in the story. To unlock the fast travel point near your base takes a lot of work, so this is the easiest way to get there. I wish I knew this from the start, as it makes getting around much easier. Upgrading your flight skill to rank 2 will unlock swift flight, and the ability to speed up while gliding is something you'll use very often. So make sure to consider this skill, as it does usually mean reaching where you want to go or not. Your first major boss fight, if you follow the main storyline, will give you your first powerful weapon. It will shoot wind along a path when you finish combos. I fully understand wanting to rush for it. This weapon you can use for a large portion of the game if you keep it refined and upgraded. What do I mean? Well, go to a smithy with the right materials and you can upgrade your weapons and gear. The right materials are ore that you find out in the world, which I'll go through more soon, and of course, materials you harvest off skinning animals. Now this tip is massive. Very often in the game you'll pick up books, documents and posters, most of which will count towards your inventory's limited space, even though they seemingly stack. So what you need to do is find every new one you've obtained and inspect it. Opening pages and holding target will fill a learning meter. You then obtain the information within, usually some lore, but sometimes some important info to progress a quest or even gain crafting recipes. Here I'm stopping to inspect an NPC who hands me a letter. Inspecting the letter gives me a new skill. This is no small bonus. Don't get too excited though, here's a priest offering me a juicy flyer. It ends up just being a request for donations, the nerve. Now here's the thing, after you've obtained the information from these items, you can dump them. I made the mistake dozens of hours in, keeping these in my inventory just in case I needed them, because most RPGs are like that, not realizing they were clogging up my space. Space is extremely limited in this game as there's no storage chest to dump your materials in, so try to bury the hoarder within you and get rid of those important documents. You get a horse right at the start of the game. You also, at your whim, tame any wild horse you see running about. I did this fairly early because I found one I liked the look of. Harder to tame, the more stamina you'll need. Different horses will have different stats and can be equipped with items from horse shops. That's what I'm calling them. What you might not realize is that the more you use a particular horse, the more fond of you it gets, and in turn, the more skills it gets. At level 1, they're relatively slow. At level 2, they can dash, which is faster than the listless gallop of level 1. Level 3, they can now Tokyo drift around corners and start assaulting enemies with powerful back kicks that only get stronger the more horse gear you have equipped. Level 4 is where you want to get to. It unlocks sprint. Now your horse will speed along super quick. Level 5 lets it swim, accelerate faster, double jump, and jump higher. You can summon your horse from anywhere outside. It tends to spawn behind where you're facing when you summon it. So if you want to go a particular direction, face the opposite way. That way you aren't running 50 meters backwards in order to pick up your horse that never seems to want to get close to you itself. For a lot of people, the controls are going to feel awful. For others, you should just get good, right? There will be times where you've got your weapons or tools out and you need to put them away to scan the environment. In those cases, there is only two ways. First, get out your bow, then cancel. Second is bring up the weapon and gear wheel and put the weapon and wheel gear away without selecting anything. This will do the trick and let you unequip whatever you have. A little down the line, you'll unlock the ability to switch to a different character, GTA 5 style. Each character retains the inventory and artifacts of the other. So if you spend artifacts on one character's skills, the other won't have them to use. This applies to every skill except the passives, which is yet another reason to invest in passives and stamina early, but that's a conversation for another video. When you switch to a character, the other remains where they were. This means you can use them to quick travel to areas like shops, buy things, then swap back, making what would normally take 30 minutes or more of travel time almost instant. Here I am swapping to Damien to buy some keys to unlock a door, then swapping back to Cliff to unlock said door. Also note that if you attempt to start a mainline mission with another character, it will let you swap to Cliff, yet another way to fast travel. When liberating areas, you'll see a lot of NPCs tied up. After clearing the enemies around them, you can walk over, select them, and hit untie. This takes time. Instead, just bump them from behind to almost instantly untie them, and keeps your eye on enemy reinforcements. Once you get your camp, there'll be an empty house on the other side of it. Here's the location of a furniture shop close by. You can buy furniture, then when inside your house, you'll notice the option in the start menu change to a house symbol. Press it to start editing. Enjoy your new home. You might be wondering, now that you have things to socket into items, how do you socket them in? Well, first you need to find the witch. Naturally, you'll find her during the main mission after chapter 5. Right now, I'm not sure where you can find a witch earlier. However, she will unlock sockets in items for you, socket things in, extract them, as well as let you buy materials and even abyss artifacts. So yes, items might be clogging up your inventory for a while still. And no, yet again, there isn't anywhere to store your excess items. Now I've mentioned mining, but here's a little tip. There's often ore higher than you can reach. In those cases, climb onto the wall and press your force palm ability. You'll slam into the wall, break the ore around you and fly back to the ground. This is slower in most cases than simply breaking the ore, and it seemed like there is less ore that drops when you do the force palm, but when you can't reach ore, getting some is better than getting none. Your lantern on your hip flashes red when you're near danger. Here it's simply logs that will break. In other cases, it will be traps. It will flash blue when it wants to be taken out and observe something in the environment, like this echo of a conversation. Sometimes a mission won't trigger. Here's an example of me getting out my weapon by mistake and causing the guards I need to talk to for a mission to be unable to be interacted with. This will happen often, so if you can't continue a mission for whatever reason, it's simple. Turn it off and on again. The game, that is. Here I save and reload, so they are no longer on high alert and ready for a chat. This is something many of you won't realize you can do unless you've seen footage of it and been told you can. You can dual wield weapons. Yes, even the starting sword and axe I mentioned that you should pick up. To do so isn't obvious, so you're forgiven for not noticing how. First, you need to highlight the weapon you want in your offhand. You then have to press the ungroup button, which is pressing in the left trigger for controllers. This will shift the selection from the main hand to the offhand. You can then equip it in your offhand. Dual wielding gives different combat animations and is very, very potent. You can no longer bash your targets with a shield, and defensively you'll be quite a bit weaker, but you will feel like a real offensive powerhouse. Here I am absolutely ripping through a boss. Later on in the story, you can bring companions along with you for the ride, up to 2. You can heal them and your mount with force palm. First, hold in the force palm attack, then press the button prompt that appears on the right, clicking in left joystick for controller. It's not so obvious, but this will get them up from a downed state. So that's everything. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Have any more tips? Leave them below. I'll be sure to heart the best ones. If you like the content, be sure to do the typical YouTube stuff. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, ciao friends.